Welcome to the Deaf Morning Show at Night. My name is Cassidy Williams, and I am your host, and I am accompanied by my lovely co-host, Zach. Hey, Zach.
Hey, Cass. I have a question for you. How do you feel about pineapple on pizza?
Great question. You know, I like it. It is not my first choice, but I will eat it if it's given to me.
I appreciate that answer.
Yeah. Also, I have a fun fact for you today.
Oh, okay.
Did you know that king salmon are the largest species of salmon and can weigh up to 129 pounds?
A fish?
A fish. A normal salmon.
Do people eat these?
They do. They're delicious.
Oh, well, the more you know.
Speaking of amazing things, we have a guest today that I'm very excited to bring on. Christina, hello. Christina Zhu is a software engineer at Square. Welcome.
Hello. I am excited to be here.
I'm so glad. Did you know that about the king salmon?
No, that's shocking, but as a salmon lover, it's always, a good news to hear about more salmon being available for my consumption.
Same. I feel like whenever I've gone out to sushi, it's basically just the salmon show with Cassidy, and like other things are good, but salmon, top tier.
I agree.
Is this the one that tastes like chicken? I'm not a seafood person.
No.
Oh.
It's just a salmon.
Noted.
Which fish are you talking about?
I think tuna. It's the chicken of
You know
the
how
sea.
people are like, it tastes
they
like
do
chicken.
call it the chicken of the sea. Yeah.
Hmm.
Never really thought of it that way, though.
Well, anyway.
Anyway, Christina, what are you working on right now?
There's actually two things that I'm working on right now. So first, recently set up my desk. So I really want one of those, really cool e-girl streaming, light activated light panel things, so I can play music.
I love those things.
Yes, and,
it's so great.
Have a little rave in my room. So looking into like the different setups I could have and the configuration. So that's really exciting. The other thing I'm working on is getting better at this game called Valorant.
Oh, you're one of those.
Yes, I know, one of those. But so it's my first shooting game.
Wow.
So what that means is that I'm terrible at it, and I'm actually in the bottom 5% of players. So I'm pretty rare in that regard. I talked to a couple of my friends about it, and they were like, "Wow, Christina, like it's actually amazing that you got placed in Iron because I was trying to make another account so I could play with my little friends. I threw every match on purpose, died a lot, lost as hard as I could. I still got placed in gold. So, it's really impressive that you still somehow got placed in Iron and you were trying." And I was like, thank you, I guess.
Wow, what a compliment.
I know.
It really warms your heart. So, I've been trying to get out of Iron and maybe, get into Bronze by the end of the year.
Wow,
yeah.
that is a tough thing to learn. My first shooting game was Fortnite, and I still play it. I'm still not that good, but you gotta catch up to all the people who've been playing shooters their whole lives.
Yeah, I definitely had motion sickness when I first started, so yeah. I don't get motion sick anymore, but I'm still terrible, so there's still some stuff to work on.
That's okay. Zach, did you play a bunch of shooters?
Not much, honestly. Fortnite is probably the most recent one I can remember playing with, and it's like I am also horrible. As soon as I see someone doing the building thing, I run away. I'm like,
panic.
It's not happening today.
I really like what I call the bush strategy. You just hide in a bush, and then eventually you'll be in the top 20, and that's when you can start to panic and try to actually.
I do like that strategy.
Have you guys ever gotten first?
Yes.
Wow.
I know.
That must have been a rush.
It took a very long time to get to that point, though. Embarrassingly long.
Was it the bush? The bush.
100. So, okay, I'm going to paint you a picture. I know that we have technical things to talk about, but this was a time where my sister and I were playing. Neither of us were very good because we didn't grow up with shooters, and it was winter. And because it was winter, they had these outfits where you could hide as a snowman on the map. It was very cute, very fun. And there was a point where we were just like, what if we hid in the snowman and just stayed as still as possible? And there came a point where we realized, oh my gosh, it's just us and one other person. Like everybody was just shooting around us and didn't realize that we were hiding right there. And we were just screaming, holding our controllers. And then eventually we're like, this is it. We have to actually play. And so we both jumped out and just were screaming, smashing the button, and we won. And it was the biggest rush I'll ever feel.
I wish I was there to see that. I can just imagine you both in a room just like panicking and just
there was
scrambling.
So much screaming. Yeah. And meanwhile, like, my husband was there in the room and he was just like, you guys aren't even playing. This is the most stupid thing I've ever seen. And we're like, oh, but we're hiding. And,
are there like natural snowmen spawned on the landscape?
Yes.
Oh,
yes. So that's why it was particularly sneaky. We hid amongst the real snowmen.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Speaking of amazing things, we have an ad.
The Dev Morning Show at Night is a sponsored podcast. It means someone has to pay the bills around here. We're sponsored by LaunchDarkly, and LaunchDarkly is the first scalable feature management platform. That means dev teams can innovate and get better software to customers faster. How? By gradually releasing new software features and shipping code whenever they want, fast-tracking their journeys to the cloud, and building stronger relationships with business teams. Thanks for the money, LaunchDarkly.
So anyway, Christina, outside of Valorant and setting up your desk, what does your day-to-day look like?
So I usually wake up, I'm tired, so I have my morning coffee, so I can be tired with a faster heart rate. Yes, and then after that, get started with work, so just do some coding, open up all my stuff, get in the zone. I have a whole ritual. I have to spray all my air plants. I open the windows. I take my vitamin D pills.
Wow.
I know. And then I open up my IDEs, check in with my coworkers and, just do whatever needs to be done that day. So usually some coding, which is pretty fun. And then after that, if I feel like treating myself, I'll go get a chicken sandwich from Popeyes.
Nice.
If it's a special occasion.
Yes,
with the biscuits.
Wow, what a treat.
I know. After that, it's usually just a personal project time or, hanging out with friends. Besides that, just pretty normal, I think, software engineering stuff. A lot of coffee, a lot of code. Yeah.
I feel that. And so during your workday or when you're like working on your personal projects, like what kind of tools do you use on the daily? Like editor or terminal or whatever?
Yeah. So on my personal projects, I'm a boomer, so I use Atom.
Wow. You still, isn't it dead?
It's pretty dead, yeah. But I think it depends on, what I'm feeling nowadays. But, I'm pretty used to it. I have all my extensions on it. I have, my custom color palette and everything. So it's just like nice and familiar. I bet I could, upgrade to a different one nowadays. But it's that's just what I.
Who's got the time?
Exactly.
Yeah.
VS Code is really nice too. I will say that.
Yeah.
As for terminal, I use iTerm 2 because a couple years ago when I was in college, I read an article called "How to Pimp Out Your Terminal." So I followed all the instructions on it. It was a Medium article, and just have a really sick iTerm 2 terminal.
And you've never changed.
I've
since.
never changed.
I respect it.
Yes.
Honestly, I think I probably read a very similar article because I also haven't changed my iTerm setup in like 5 years.
If it works, it works.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what got you into the industry in the first place?
Ooh, okay. So are we talking about, the actual computer science academic industry or my first coding experience? Because those two are like very far apart. I guess I can talk about both. So
yeah, a little bit of both.
Yeah, my first coding experience was playing Neopets when I was 7 or 8 years old, and
nice.
we really had to make our pet pages as swanky as possible. So learned a lot of
the
CSS.
guilds, all of that.
So much CSS and HTML. I didn't know it was like considered coding at the time because I was just like, I need to have a 40 pixel wide, cursor for whoever visits my page and be as obnoxious as possible. Lots of Myspace too. Yeah.
That's a massive cursor for the resolution of screens back then too.
I know, but like, when you're playing Neopets and you're 8 years old and you manage to get a fairy paintbrush and paint your pet, to a fairy, you better have a matching fairy cursor. You know what I mean? So
That is a flex
I know.
if I've ever heard one.
So
That is actually a massive flex. Those paintbrushes were expensive.
they were. I actually managed finally to get back into my Neopets account after being locked out for like about a decade. I'd email Neopets support once a year. I'd bump my friend to see if they would ever reply, and eventually they replied. It's because when I was 10 years old, I was like, I'm not giving out my real birthday to these people, so I put in a fake birthday, and I just forgot. I was just too smart for my own security good. But I got back in, so that was a good day.
That's what matters.
Yeah, but all my CSS and HTML don't work anymore, so that's a big sad.
Gosh.
But as for so besides that, like 10 years passed and I didn't do any coding whatsoever. But so what happened was I went into college as a not as a computer science major. I went in as a business/economics major, and so I was really into doing these kind of like business proposals and like program management stuff in high school. It was really fun. So I decided to go into college to study that, but it turns out I'm really bad at economics, and I got like a C- in Intro to Microeconomics.
No.
Yeah, it was really hard. It was so hard. I didn't know like supply demand graphs. Like that was just really hard for me. But I did manage to get an A in Intro to Computer Science. So I was like, maybe I should switch over. So I went to a couple
follow my
hackathons.
strengths.
Yeah, I went to a couple hackathons, and that's kind of what convinced me to switch over to computer science, just because I had like such a blast at those events. And the fact that I was just not that great at economics. So yeah.
It's good to know your strengths and weaknesses.
I'm curious, like how do you find out about hackathons when you're in college?
I think at the time I just joined this Facebook group called Hackathon Hackers. Yes.
Good times.
Good times indeed. And it was just something that was advertised there a lot, just posted on Facebook everywhere. So if you were interacting with computer science at all during that time, like 2017, 2018 on Facebook, you'd probably get some exposure one way or another to a hackathon.
That was really like the heyday of hackathons, because I feel like when I was in school and Zach and I went to school together, there was a point where in our computer science club we had said, who here has been to a hackathon? And like 2 people had. And then even just a couple years later, 3 years later, like it felt like every single tech person had gone to hackathons or organized hackathons for their school or something. They really exploded in that time.
Everything was like advertised through that MLH.
Major League Hacking
company.
They're still thriving.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. I was always wondering like what would happen after COVID, or not after, during.
Virtual hackathons.
I guess.
I went to one. So the one I started at my university, HackDavis. I go back every year because it's fun, and to eat the UC Davis food that I really miss. But during COVID, they moved to a more digital format, so they had a Discord, and I was actually super impressed with how they set it up, because they had like virtual rooms for teams to like huddle in, and the whole like ticket messaging system from a bot that they built themselves, and it was like incredibly smooth, incredibly like well run for a digital one. And I was like, this is like just as good as an in-person one. So I was just really impressed with how
that's awesome.
Yeah, how they managed to switch so effortlessly to like a digital format. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of tech people could really try their hands at event planning because of all of the like apps and bots and things that we'll build to make an event run smoothly virtually at this rate. Because kind of like what you said, the ticketing system, I've seen people make like banners for every single hack that's been made, or the variety of Discord channels and things. It's a whole industry. It's very impressive. Okay, it is time for rapid fire questions. We are going to ask you questions rapidly. So first of all, we all have domain names, project ideas that we are squatting on. What are yours?
So I have one domain name, and it's just my name.
Nice. Respect.
The project I am squatting on is I want a see-through refrigerator that tells me what's in my refrigerator, because if I can't see what's inside it, I just forget it's there, and that's how I accumulate a week's worth of leftovers. I think someone's working on that though. So
there are some with like the glass doors.
Mm-hmm.
They're just so expensive.
Yeah, and I know there's some really high-tech refrigerators that have a screen that logs what's inside your fridge, but I don't know how that technology works. It's very advanced.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's fair. What is the most recent thing you over-optimized?
Right, so I'm sure you two are familiar with the concept of Uncrustables.
Yes.
Yes.
Delicious.
Yes, but for those who are not, it is a frozen peanut butter and jelly sandwich that are shaped like a circle, and they do not have a crust, and they are frozen. So I think the regular way you're supposed to eat Uncrustables is by putting them in a toaster, like a regular human being.
I think you're right. Yes.
But for people who cannot wait 3 minutes for the toaster, I attempted to use the microwave, which is not great because then it explodes.
I was gonna say, doesn't it get lava hot?
Yes, it gets lava hot and it also bursts from the seam. So I was like, there must be a better way. So there was one point in recent memory where I was wearing a hoodie and I got an Uncrustable. And then I realized I was late for a meeting, so I put the Uncrustable in my hoodie pocket and ran to my meeting, and I completely forgot the Uncrustable was there. And then after my meeting was over, I remembered the Uncrustable was there, but it had thawed slightly, and it was the perfect temperature and consistency.
Wow!
And it was still kind of nice and chilly in the middle too. So that is my new way of eating Uncrustables, where I just put it in a hoodie pocket and I forget, and I thaw it slowly with my body heat.
Smuckers, I hope you're listening.
Yes, this should be on the box. This is very important.
Fund this idea. Wow. My favorite way of eating Uncrustables is putting it frozen on top of a cup of tea, kind of like those Stroop waffles or whatever.
Ooh.
And then the steam from the tea heats up the Uncrustable.
No one actually toasts it. This is what I'm learning. No one toasts their Uncrustable like a normal human being.
No.
And then I tell my mom about this, and she's like, why can't you just make yourself a sandwich? And she doesn't get it. She doesn't understand.
Yes, Uncrustables are in a whole nother league by themselves.
Mm-hmm. Best thing since sliced bread. Uncrusted bread.
Ooh.
Frozen. Anyway, what is your golden rule for coding?
I think the most important thing that I've actually learned over the years doesn't have to do technical coding or technical skill per se, but just learning how to ask for help after a certain point, which is definitely something that I've struggled with for a lot because I didn't want to seem stupid or I wanted to figure things out by myself. But I realized, if you have the resource of having really smart people around you, the fastest way to learn is actually by, reaching out and asking for their advice. So for me, if you're stuck for more than an hour, I'd say try and ask someone who knows more than you. And I feel like that way you both can learn something. So, yeah.
Agreed.
That's great. What is your favorite "it depends" question?
Okay, so this may be a little controversial, but it must
Ooh.
be, do you like In-N-Out or Shake Shack better? And I have to say, it depends. Because I feel like, personally, they are in two different categories of burger just by the price point. So you have to think about the Shake Shack burger at the price point of $9 versus the In-N-Out burger at the price point of $3. I feel like depending on what you're looking for, it really truly depends what category of burger you are rating them from. There's just no way to compare the two.
I agree with you completely. Because I do want them at different times. And this is also a very Californian question. I don't know. There might be people out there who haven't had In-N-Out. It's a very good burger, but it's different from Shake Shack. But they're both better than McDonald's, for example.
There is always a time and place for McDonald's, though.
True.
Yes.
Very
1000%.
Yes.
Yes.
I am loving it. Thank you very much. So, what is the oldest piece of tech that you still own?
Right, so I was going to say my GameCube, but I recently remembered, well, recently as in 10 seconds ago, I remembered that the one thing I still own is the first iPod Shuffle ever, which was the size of a
Wow.
USB stick, this big. There was no screen, and it didn't have, I think it had 4 buttons, like play, pause, forward, backwards, up and down. And I have no idea how I navigated that thing without a screen. It was the size of a USB stick, and I remember I just, put on Avril Lavigne, Linkin Park, put in my headphones, and just walk back and forth from middle school, in my angst, my teenage
Yeah.
angst. So I actually found it the other day. Unfortunately, I forgot to bring it, but yeah, it was pretty ancient, and I was really excited to have it because my sister had a Walkman.
Oh man, so yeah,
Yeah.
that was an upgrade.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
do remember that time where it was like you would add a song to this iPod Shuffle and you just had to keep hitting next and wait for it to come up, because if it was out of some order, then it was just gone in the ether of this little device.
Yeah, you'd have to just keep looking for it.
I guess I never thought of it that way. Why it was called iPod Shuffle. I did.
Yeah.
I just assumed you could have your set order in iTunes or something, but
Like
that
you
makes
could,
sense.
but if you messed something up, your music was just somewhere in there.
Yeah, like if you sorted your
That's fair.
songs alphabetically, you just have to memorize, where each song was and just keep clicking, because there were no screens back then. We were really truly living in the dark ages.
Man,
Fair.
the memes though. They were such fun, colorful pieces too. Tech has gotten very like gray and sleek, and I miss the colorful days.
Do you guys have the Macs from like the computer labs in your childhood that were like rainbow jelly colored?
So cool.
Oh, yeah.
So cool.
So
It was
cute.
only like in the special computer lab though,
Right.
where they had those. The rest of them were just the giant CRT monitors and stuff.
Yeah, and you'd play like Zoom beanies on them. Those were the days.
Rip.
All right, moving on. Gonna awkwardly transition. Have you written a piece of cringy code? And if so, what was it?
Yeah, I think I feel like every developer has had that moment where they write something and then they don't know why it works and it looks disgusting, but you realize if you remove it, everything would break. So you have no choice but to put it in. Then you write a comment that says, you shouldn't remove this because if you remove it, it will break. And then you write an apology in the comment too, I'm sorry. Then you submit it for PR, and then the PR you try to explain yourself, your terrible life choices to whoever's reviewing it. You say, I'm really sorry, I know this looks really bad, but I couldn't figure out another way to do it. Can you just please approve this? And, we maybe a senior engineer can look at it later. I feel like we've all...
Don't look at me.
Yeah, don't look at me. I hope no one else looks at this. I feel like we've all had that piece of code.
Yeah. It's scarring, but it's a rite of passage, I think.
I mean, if
Truly.
it works in production.
Cool. All right. What is your most used emoji?
Ooh, okay. That's a great question. I am thinking my top 7 emojis, trying to remember which one is the least cringe.
It's okay. We love the
They're all
cringe.
good.
Okay. So I think my favorite new emoji is the one where they're doing like the yes sir salute. I think that's a
Oh,
fairly
the salute.
yeah it's a fairly recent one. Very flexible, can use it in many situations. Mostly sarcastic at your siblings,
Of course.
Yeah, at your parents, at your coworkers. I think
Multi-use.
most recently that's my most used one. But besides that, I think I mostly stick, with the classics like the heart, the smile. Oh, and then another one of the new ones that I really like is like the big googly eyes, and you're smiling and there's tears in your eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I know
Yes.
which one.
That is definitely a mood.
It is now time for the random segment generator. A random segment is going to pop up, and we're going to roll with it. And the first one is Dev Opposites. What do you do outside of your day job? We already know about Valorant, but what else?
During COVID, like many other people, I decided to pick up a COVID hobby. Unfortunately, it was not anything useful like crocheting or learning a new skill like cooking. I decided to become a gambler and get invested in Pokemon cards instead. So
You're one of those?
I'm one of
Oh.
those, yes. I'm ashamed to admit it. But
Wow.
I started really getting into Pokemon cards because I had some when I was a child and I realized my childhood collection could have been worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then I went home and my parents told me they tossed it away many years ago. So that was very
No.
heartbreaking.
Oh.
So I went kind of real deep into that. They're kind of like stocks. They go up.
They
go,
really are.
Yeah, they
It's
go up.
wild.
They go down. No rhyme or reason to it. So I did spend an embarrassing amount of money, buying packs, and ripping them open, getting some cards, and then sending them to like these official grading companies to like look at my card and tell me like, yeah, this is a good card, and then they like grade it from 1 to 10, and if it's a 10, you can resell it for like way more money because 10 is like the highest score you can get. So yeah, that's a whole thing.
Do you do the thing where, like, I remember seeing a thing where when you get a new deck, you have to like put some of the cards in front and then you have to open them in a specific order?
Yeah.
Do you do that? Is that actually important?
I think it's if you're opening it for other people to watch, they like the suspense of it. If it's myself, I'm just very impatient. I'm just like, okay, just show me if I want anything or not, But if you're trying to, build some suspense and you have a bunch of people cheering you on and hoping that your $200 purchase was not worth, $20, you try to like, draw it out and make it like fun. So I think it's also just like a ritual. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Did you
feel
ever
like
stream it or anything? Sorry, Zach.
okay.
No, mostly to just personal friends and stuff. But it was really fun, you and your friends during lockdown, you all just sit together with your webcams on, ripping open packs, losing money together, getting some Pokemon. Yeah.
I feel like I've seen this straight like on TikTok. Like there'll be random like live videos where people do that thing like you were talking about, Cass, where they like flip one card over or like move it around and then just start like showing it off. And I'm like, this is fascinating. I don't know any of these new gen Pokemon, but like I still found myself watching for like 15 minutes.
It's very interesting to watch. And a friend of a friend started a Twitch channel where he does this and people will mail him their packs just so he can open them and mail them back, which again, it's a whole world, I'm sure you know. And he's made a lot of money on these Pokemon cards. It's fascinating, like what a world it has grown into.
Yeah, I think the streamers in particular, people will send them money while they're streaming to like buy packs from the streamer, and the streamer will open packs for them and like send them the shiny cards. And they usually charge at a premium, but people are willing to pay because the streamers have, usually like a couple hundred people watching. And when they open your pack and you get something good, you have like hundreds of other people cheering for you. So I think that's what you're paying for, like the sense of like you're in a stadium
the
together
experience.
screaming at Pokemon cards.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
This is probably an ignorant question and I'm somewhat ashamed of asking it, but can the cards be shiny? I knew they could be holographic.
Oh,
but I thought that was only in the games, like the digital games.
There are shiny Pokemon cards. They were introduced in the first couple sets. So I think one of the most popular ones is called like a Shining Charizard, and it's worth a couple $1,000s
because it's black.
Because it's black. It looks super cool. It's Charizard. And yeah, it's definitely a thing. They're not called shinies, but they're called like Shining. And they're like, the different color schemes and whatnot. The Dragonites are green for whatever reason. Yeah.
Okay. This might be getting way too deep into this topic, but the fact that Dragonites are green when Dratini and Dragonair are purple,
no sense. Makes no sense.
I just feel like whoever decided that the last evolution of Dratini should be orange with arms.
True.
I think they just messed up. The first Danger Noodle evolution, cute. Second level Danger Noodle, elegant. Third level, it's not even a noodle anymore. Like, it's just
a
yeah,
drink.
I know.
That's totally fair. Yeah, I haven't thought about it that way.
We don't talk about it.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the next random segment. It's what are you proud of? So, talk about something that you shipped or created that you're really proud of.
Yeah, I touched upon this a bit earlier, but I think definitely doing like my university's hackathon is something, probably the biggest thing I've shipped to date. So back when I started, it was the only UC, the University of California University, that didn't have a hackathon at the time. I had gone to every other UC's hackathon at that point, and I was like, okay, well, when is Davis gonna have one? I went to UC Davis, and apparently no one was thinking about it or going to do it. So me and my friends just got together. We were playing pool at someone's apartment complex, and we were like, okay, yeah, we should do it. So then we decided to do it, which was, we completely underestimated how much time and money it would take. But it was a super rewarding experience. So the first year, it was like 300 people. Then next year was 600, and then next year was like 700. Wow. So that was just really fun. And then I graduated. But, I come back every year. I don't know anyone on the team anymore. They don't know who I am either, but that's okay. But it's always been like great to see, this organization that I started flourish and continue to grow to this very day. So I just think that's really awesome. And I think what's also great is that I see that the school and the computer science department is actually supporting them now. Because back when we first started, we tried to pitch it, to our computer science department, and they were like, why should we do this? Hackathons are a waste of time. And we're just like, oh, okay then. But it seems like now the university and the department have realized, that it's a pretty cool thing to do. So that's also just been like great to see.
That is so awesome. And the fact that it's continued for this long, that's amazing.
Yeah, the team has done such a good job. It makes me feel like I did a terrible job. Back when I first started, I look at the website now and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I could have never done this. But yeah,
iterations.
True. Yeah.
Someone has to make V1 in order for the other ones to follow.
That's some good advice. I should keep that in mind.
I like that.
Okay, our last random segment is 404s and heartbreak. What is something that's been taken off the internet, or it's just returns a page not found, that breaks your heart?
I don't know if this counts, but I really miss MySpace sometimes. Yeah, I mean, I know it's technically still alive in a different form.
It's a different energy now.
It's definitely a different social media, but, I realized there is a space for something like MySpace when I saw people on Instagram and Facebook talking about, it'd be really cool if we could, put music on our pages and have it autoplay when someone visits our pages. And I'm like, oh, you have no idea. But
it's the best choice.
It is the best choice. Yeah, that was definitely something that I miss, going to everyone's terrible profiles, and listening to their terrible music choices. The one thing I don't miss about MySpace, though, was like the fact that you had to rank your best friends on your page.
I was gonna mention that was probably a good thing to get rid of.
Yeah, that was kind of toxic, because you'd know when people were in a fight when they drag your friend from first place to like 5th place. There was some spicy drama going on.
That was drama.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like that era of the internet was, and granted, there are pros and cons of everything. It just felt like it was much more personal, because it wasn't just like all of these ad tracking things trying to deliver you information just for you. It was like you creating that space for yourself. And I do miss that aspect of it.
Yeah, definitely. I think the customization options are missing from a lot of today's social medias. And it'd be great if we could, change the colors and the photos on our IGs and Facebook. I mean, I know some of them would be incredibly ugly, but they'd be your ugly, like you'd be expressing yourself.
40 pixel cursors.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
If you wanted it.
Well, I think we just decided we're going to make a new social network. We'll reconvene offline.
And
Yes.
circle back on that.
Yeah. For my last email. Okay. All right. Anyway, we have now gotten to the sage advice portion of this show. This one is very near and dear to my heart, both in this place and time and also just based on what we talked about today. And it's just kind of make your space, whether it's around your desk or online, make your space on the internet. Because right now, there's so many companies that want your attention, want your focus, want your data, and a lot of them are very good at it and it's very fun. But it's important to create that space for yourself so that way you can kind of bloom where you're planted, create something that is yours, have something that you can point at, whether you're job hunting or just showing off the things that you can do, and also just to be comfortable in an environment and be around people who also make their own spaces as well. So do that. Figure out how you want to do it, whether it's virtually or in real life. What a concept. But do it. That being said, Zach, Christina, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks.
for having me.
Christina, where can people find you? Do you have anything that you want to plug?
I don't have anything to plug, but I always enjoy talking to people, and you can find me on Twitter at CSZHU. The CS does not stand for computer science. It's because I have had people ask me that. The CS stands for Christina, and S stands for my middle name. But yeah, come chat with me anytime. I love meeting new people.
As my married name starts with an S, so I understand the CS very well.
Oh boy.
Also, I'm going to plug Christina's Twitter because it's very funny and she makes very good memes, and I think that's very important.
Oh, thank you. I will try and make more memes. I harvest them organically. Non-GMO
Nice.
memes, fresh from the farm.
Handcrafted
Exactly.
artisanal memes.
Exactly.
And once again, because making podcasts is expensive, this show is brought to you by Launch Darkly. Launch Darkly toggles peaks of 20 trillion feature flags each day, and that number continues to grow, and you should use them. You can head over to launchdarkly.com and learn about how. Thank you for making this show possible, Launch Darkly. I've been Cassidy Williams. You can find me at Cassidoo, Cassidoo, on most things, and I'm CTO over at Contenda.
And I'm Zach, and I'm a DevRel at Rive, and you can find me on Twitter at Zach Plata.
Thank you for tuning into the Dev Morning Show at night. Make sure you head over to our YouTube channel where you can like and subscribe. You can also listen to the audio version of this wherever you get your podcasts.